of all the nations of Asia. Join in the union which we called Arcasia. Tasked to improve the beauty of our native land, design the structures for the benefit of man. All architects are the artists, divine creator of the world. Let us show to the world that we are children of the loving Lord.
It is the aim of architects of Acya, always to be of service to all people.
Now we are here in spirit of the common faith, long live the Congress of the Asian Architects. All architects are the artists, divine creator of the world. Let us show to the world that we are children of the loving Lord. It is the aim of architects of Arcasia, always to be of service to all people.
Now we are here in spirit of a common faith.
Long live the Congress of the Asian Architects.
Hi everyone. Hello everyone. Welcome. My name is Ridar Razak and I am the chairman of Acya, Acacia Committee on Young Architects. It is with great pleasure for me to host all of you in Acya first ever webinar forum 2020. Indeed, at this time of crisis, we need to be together with solidarity to overcome this together. I hope you enjoy today. Before that, I would like to introduce to you, some of you, on what is Acya, or Acacia Committee of Young Architects. Acya stands for Acacia Committee of Young Architects, which consists of young members below 41 from 21 countries of Acacia under the leadership of Ms. President Rita So from Singapore. Under Acacia, we have 3 zones: Zone A, Zone B, Zone C. Zone A consists of India, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and many more. Zone B is the ASEAN countries, and Zone C, Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, and others. Yeah. The scope of Acya is to promote young architects to exchange ideas and develop capacity building to product future leaders of Asian architects and the world to produce. We want to produce a lot of the future leaders so that not only become the leaders of architecture, but also the leaders of the world. All right. Without further ado, now I would like to introduce you to the convener and the brain behind the program. He is none other than the Malaysia representative and upcoming rising star designer, A.R. Khwarizmi. Welcome, A.R. Khwarizmi. Please come in. He will be the moderator for today.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Khwarizmi.
Right. Good.
Yeah. All right. So I leave it to you. Okay. All right.
Hi everyone. So my name is Kawarizmi Nohisham, and I will be your moderator for today. So we move on to our session. COVID-19 outbreak has resulted to movement control order, circuit breaker, or lockdown across the world as a policy tool to flatten the curve. To keep us productive, Acya brings you the first webinar session in this series. So before we start, I would like to remind participants and viewers that you can ask questions by clicking Q&A dialog bubble, which there will be an icon at your bottom tool column. You can post the question there, but due to the time constraint, we will select a few questions for the panelists to comment on. You can also download this presentation slide later on that will be provided with a dedicated link towards that. Today we have Joan de Leon Tabinas, who will deliver her topic on the response of architecture to pandemic, how COVID impacts design. A little bit about Joan. Joan is the founder and chairman of CORE Singapore, Philippines, and UAE. She is an accomplished sustainable strategist, educator, and architect registered with Board of Architecture in the Philippines. She gained her master's degree in integrated sustainable design at National University of Singapore and US, and she is a firm believer of sustainability should be the norm of practice rather than a choice. With 15 years of experience in the industry, she has been involved in different scale of development from Asia to Middle East, and in year 2004, Joan went to Dubai and handled notable projects and also become an active leader in United Architects of Philippines, UAP. Without further ado, we'll move on to the presentation. Joan, the mic is yours.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning and good evening to all the people, participants that here with us today in different parts of the world. Good afternoon. So let's move on to the presentation, wherein formally, you know what is happening to us today, right, guys? So for more than 3 weeks now, it's global that we are into. Some of us we call it as quarantine, lockdown. Here in Singapore, we call it as circuit breaker. Yeah. So as we all know, this COVID-19 is a pandemic. Pandemic has created us the unusual disruption of many things, the global health, the development of the community, and many more. And the short-term effect of this, we are now experiencing it. But the end of that, or what we call the changes or the challenges that we will gonna, the consequences that we will gonna be facing later on, is still what we call the unknown. So right now we are here. We're not saying that this will be the answer for the post-COVID as what we know, but we are here to give our sights, to give our insights, and we will share our knowledge regarding on what we can see beyond this COVID. So I have a question. What do you think and how do you think this COVID will gonna reshape our city, the community, and each individuality around the world? How do you think, architects? So before I proceed to the formal session, I want to give you first a short history of what is the real pandemic before and what really happened. And later on, you will realize that, oh yeah, this is not just the first pandemic happened, but this pandemic married architecture, and that's the reason why we have this urban fabric today. We know very well that this is a medical crisis. Yes, we know that, certainly. But don't you ever forget that this is also social, psychological, economic, and logistical crisis. Given the fact today that we don't have vaccine yet, or we don't have an effective treatment yet for this virus. So what are we doing right now? The only primary way to mitigate the spread of this virus is what we call the spatial responses, wherein this is what is happening. We are practicing the social distancing, the isolation, and the quarantine, right? And who belongs to that industry? That one depends on the built environment, our homes, neighborhoods, healthcare, infrastructure, the cities, everything. They played a central role in the distancing or in the emergency preparedness responses. So meaning to say, you in the built industry, don't you ever say that you don't have any part in this COVID or in this pandemic. Because what is happening right now is we are trying to solve, yes, we in the built industry trying to resolve something wherein we're still waiting for the vaccine to come. For today, before we discuss furthermore, I would like to show you what happened to the pandemic before. So you can see how we architects evolve and how we contribute in the urban fabric that we are having right now and how pandemic affects it. First, on the 14th century, how the urban city evolved. So this one is the movement of the Renaissance. Expanded borders, they already developed quarantine facilities by then. And then they already opened large and less cluttered public spaces. Because of what? Because of they want to have an overcrowded facilities or spaces because of this bubonic plague or the 14th century pandemic. Next to that is we do have pandemic during 18th century and the 19th century, which is the yellow fever, the cholera, and the smallpox. So for this one, our urban fabric created a broad boulevards, citywide sewer system, and indoor plumbing system. Next to that is the 20th century, wherein most of us already have idea about this. This is the tuberculosis, typhoid, polio, and Spanish flu. What happened to this one? So this one is the opening of modernism. We thought that modernism in architecture is just all about we want to provide a smooth, clean, white environment in architecture. But sometimes we don't understand that those things happen to architecture because of this 20th century pandemic. The Le Corbusier thing, the Le Corbusier designs, it's just smooth, it's just empty, white. But it's all about this one because they want to have, they already started here the single zoning, meaning separating the residential and industrial zone areas. The cleaner surface, think glass and steels for the materials, and the emphasis of sterility. It's all because of this pandemic, the tuberculosis, typhoid, polio, and Spanish flu. Now, the question here is, surely built environment has something, we have something to contribute with it. We in our industry, do you believe in that? That we have something to contribute? Because hearing this history, yes, me as an architect, I can say that, yeah, I can contribute on what is happening right now. So the built environment, yes, we can do something about it. But the question is, where can architects be most effective in this time of pandemic? Where is your place today? Where do you stand as an architect? What do you do? What are you doing right now to contribute for this time of pandemic? Second, how do you put your skills to use in the right context at the right time? We do understand that we're all artists. We understand that we have a lot of skills, but of course, knowing your skills and knowing your strengths, you need to think first on how are you or where are you going to put it at the right place and at the right time. So for today, I have this one. I created this driver wherein as part of my research as well, that what architect or how architect respond in the situation, okay? So the first response of the architect globally, okay, is first they are now using or they are now pushing more in adaptive reuse. What is the adaptive reuse? Well, In sustainability, that is the most efficient and sustainable way to use the existing building to serve newly relevant purposes. Okay, we don't need to build a new building for us to use this in this pandemic, but because of course we need to be fast and we need to be simple to address the needs of the global pandemic. So they are now using or pushing more in adaptive reuse. They are using the existing building and they are converting it into the health facilities for the emergency quarantine spaces. The next is the modular construction. Our architects right now is fabricating or standardizing the design wherein it is very quick for them to assemble on site, very flexible, and less wastage in terms of the construction buildup. So those are the two constructions that we are using. And there's one more. We are using the lightweight construction. What is that one? Why they are implementing it? As of this moment, we need to be fast, as I told you. Having this lightweight construction, this is a speed and portability. That makes it unique. It is very portable, wherein we can find in Milan that they do have the tent, then they will just inflate it and it will be converted into emergency facilities already. So that's the use of the lightweight construction. And it is also very easy for us to construct if it is lightweight. And lastly, the architects today is doing the intelligent innovation. What is this? As I've told you a while ago, architects got a lot of skills. We are artists. We have a lot of in our mind that we can able to impart in this certain situation. And intelligent innovation with the right research on it, we can build something or we can create something, which is right now what we do. We have intelligent innovation of the architects, for example, is the simple as what we thought, but it's not. The 3D printing for the mask shield. Most of the architectural firms who have their 3D printer, they are producing that and then they are giving that as the part of their community social responses. And aside from that, there is one architect also from Hong Kong that he he did 3D printing of, instead of doorknob that you were going to use your hand, but you will just going to use your elbow to operate and open the door. Because right now, later I will discuss that the not touch or the technology that you will not use your hand will be very helpful, especially in this time of pandemic. So those are the four drivers, or what we call the four big responses of the architects during this pandemic period globally. First is the adaptive reuse, modular construction, lightweight construction, and right now, the architects are more intelligent in innovating many things. Now, I have one case study for you, which is what we call the Cura. Cura is invented by architect Carlo Ratti. He is an Italian architect, and he designed what we call the connected units for respiratory ailments. So this is a prefabricated pod. It is made up of, what is that? What do you call that one? Huh? Do you know what is that? It is a prototype. Yeah, it is a prototype wherein you can install that anywhere. So it's a container van prototype, rather. Yes. So can set up by a small number of workers only, because it's already in there. It's already fully equipped by the hospital or healthcare equipments inside. And then you will just bring it there on the site. And then if you want a bigger, or no matter how many prototypes do you want, or how many pods do you want, you can interconnect it together by the inflatable corridors. So it will be connected by the inflatable corridors. After this slide, I will show you a short video of this Cura. Okay, enjoy watching. All right. So, did you enjoy watching it? In the video, it says that as of this moment, we need to be adapt. Our thing should be adaptable and what is happening. So, I am raising this awareness to you guys. There is no right and wrong in terms of your innovation. You need to try and think and support it by your research and experiences. Feel what is really happening. And you never know. You can be part of this global solution for the COVID. Now, in the Philippines, okay, and even around the world, many architects have leveraged their expertise to provide support for those needs of this pandemic. Right now, I will going to discuss to you what is the Filipino architects, the action that what are the actions of the Filipino architects to combat this COVID. So you all know that it is not easy to get funds from the government for today, or everyone is busy. But the good thing here is through this pandemic, we find ourselves to be more helpful and to help to find solution for the needs of the others. So for this one, I will discuss many actually. I will show many slides so that you will be inspired by the Filipino architects what they are doing back home. Okay, first is this one is the emergency quarantine facilities, event hall converted to healthcare facilities. So this is under by the national government of the Philippines, headed by architect Dan Lichauco. So all of the big event halls there in the Philippines or event gathering spaces in our country, they are converting it into quarantine facilities, emergency quarantine facilities. And the arch and architect are the one who's assigned to that by the government. They do have three modules here. The first module is, wait, I will just turn on my, okay, wait. No. Okay. Sorry about this. Okay. I think the pointer. Yep, there you go. So we do have three modules here. The first is what they call the ILI-1, ILI-1. This is goes to the low and medium risk patients. So the specification for that, the module is 2.5 by 2.5, and it is consists of three partitions. It is just a lightweight partition wherein the material is readily available, and it is very convenient because whatever is there, they will put it. And then the workers are very much familiar with it, so you don't need to take time for you. There is no time consuming for us to discuss it to the workers on how are they going to put it on site. And then the front closure there is only curtain. So we do have the bedside table and the bed, of course. There's a desk and chair there. There's also an available power outlet near to the bed so that you can easily reach it. Waste basket is there, and then there's a person or a cleaner who's regularly passing in on the area and then getting your waste. The nurse call button is there, and of course there's a night light wherein of course we don't have the same timing when do you want to, or the same timing of sleeping as what I say. So there's a night light there that you can adjust anytime you want according to your body, according to your, what do you call that one, now I'm lost, according to your body system. Okay, body clock. Now next is this one is the ILI2. This is for the high risk. Okay, there is no partition in the middle, and then there's one nurse station there, but that one covers with 40 beds. Going back to this one is, there's also one nurse station, but the nurse station there is taking care of 60 beds because this is just for the low and medium risk. But the other one, the ELI 2, one nurse station for every 40 beds. And when you look at this one, there is no partition in the middle. Okay, so that it's the nurse will can easily address the need of the patients. They don't need to spend time going in and going out of every cubicle. Here in this one cubicle, you can already see what is the need or address the needs of the patients. But there is also the third here is what we call the ELE as well too, but it is with the oxygen outlet. That's why O2. So this one is for the high risk as well, but more high than the high risk. But there's one nurse station, but there's only 20 beds for the nurse in charge. There are three staff nurse there, and then the one nurse in charge together with the three staff nurse, and then the nurse station under 20 beds only. That is with the oxygen outlet because they are more high risk compared to the others. So these are the examples of what they are doing in the Philippines. They are trying to achieve 2,000 beds. Again, 2,000 beds for this type of construction. Go again, this type of construction under by architect Danley Chauco, and he is converting the event gathering spaces in the Philippines, like the Rizal Memorial, the tent, and many other more. So at the PICC, so Cultural Center of the Philippines. So those are the big spaces that we have, or the event gatherings, the ultra. Those are the spaces that we have in the Philippines, and every area will be converted into something like this. So this is one of the example of what they have, and then they can finish that into only 5 days. So for this one, if I am not mistaken, this is around 150 to 160 beds for the Rizal Memorial. Next, this is one of the examples as well. This is under the cubicle count of that. This is under the tent. It's also in Metro Manila. 292 cubicles that they are providing. This is the ultra, just like what I've told you. This is 160 beds, and a lot more. A lot of sites to be converted, and then they are almost done. They are, I think, 90% done, because as we all know, we need to be fast. And another one, I have another example here. This is the emergency quarantine facilities, same as with Architect Dan, but this one is they are assembling it outdoor. Okay, this is under by Architect William T, the WTA Design Studio, Architecture Design Studio. So this one, not this is under by the local government units. The other one is under by the national government. This one is the local government, and also provided. It is also from the what do you call that one? The fund of this coming also from the other sectors. Meaning to say, the fund of this coming from the donation. That is one thing that I love about this program, because a lot of people helping each other, and they are trying to, or not trying, but their goal is to have 1,000 beds. So that one, as of yesterday, because Architect William T just gave me this update. So the batch 1 and 2, they already have 62 sites completed, and then the batch 3 is ongoing, and they are already done with the four sites, so 6 sites more ongoing. So that's it, and it will complete the 1,000 beds. So for this one, they do have an announcement here, or some things there, that if people or from the private sectors wants to donate or to impart for this project, so they do have all the details there as well. Okay, discussing about the building details of that quarantine that we were gonna build, that they are building outdoor. Actually, this is a very lightweight, a modular building. Okay, The building envelope of this is the combination of an opaque and transparent plastic in order to provide privacy and visual transparency. So the structure of this is only made of wood, 2 by 4 wood, and the program is the emergency center can accommodate 15 beds. It's almost same module as what we have in the one that from the one that I showed you, because every module there is 2.5 by 2.5, almost the same as this. And then the one stretch of that, the maximum there is 14, and then this one they do have 15 beds. So in here, inside this, inside this pod, or the terminal as what we call inside this, is a disinfecting misting chamber, and there's also lavatory facilities and toilet and bath. So the nurse station is there, the doffing in and the doffing on, so it's all in there. It's a complete set, of course. So this is the example of the plan that we have. So the nurse station is here, the beds are here, comfort rooms, showers, the doffing in. So this is the patient's entrance. So it's as simple as that, a very straightforward thing with a simple structural framing, a simple structural framing, just as like that. We don't need to put a lot of details in there because we need to move quick, especially in this point in time. So right now, for this one is, I can say that because I am part, okay, I am part of this organization. So all of the licensed architect in the Philippines is a part of this UAP, the United Architects of the Philippines. So from the temporary response to the 3D printing, okay, this organization is just like many other professions. They responded to the current coronavirus as well. But this is not funded by the government. This is funded by the chapters through donations as well. So this is one good thing that what we have in the Philippines, and we call it the Bayanihan COVID-19 Labanan. Bayanihan meaning helping each other. That's one of the culture in the Philippines where we call it Bayanihan, that whatever happens, there's someone there beside you to help you. So this one, Labanan, means fight. So Bayanihan, helping to fight COVID, a sort of like that. So this one is under the UAP chapter, one of the UAP chapter located in Cebu. So they are building as well the response center of Cebu. So the architect of that assigned to design, and I don't know what is the participation of the chapter, but they try to help as well to impart the design of this, and of course to make it possible. The next is, there's one chapter president there who designed what we call the disinfection room. So this is also modular. You can build it and then you can bring it on the site as easy as that. And designed by architect Ricky A. Sangil. He is the chapter president of the atelier. Next is, we also have here, the chapter donated the what we call the improvised washing stands. Okay, because as of this moment, washing our hands is one of the most important thing for us to do to fight the virus. So the chapter improvised washing stand that they can put in anywhere in the area to provide a good habit of washing hands to the people and community. So this one, as I've told you, from making or designing the response center for the COVID, we will move on to even a small thing as what we thought. Sometimes you don't want to say it, but then it's really true that we architects are imparting knowledge to make also the aerosol boxes. You know what? This is one of the most important thing that the architects did, because you are helping the healthcare workers, the doctors, the dentists to do their operations, because of course, if the person is infected, you cannot touch them, or of course even the mouth, the saliva, everything. But for this one, using this aerosol boxes, the doctor is using that, and then they are just putting their hands inside the box in the hole there, so that they can do the operations. And the architect itself doing that kind of acrylic box. So they provide that in the government. And then we have here, as what I said, the printing of this, that one. They use the 3D printer to print that sort of headband for the face shield or face mask. And then lastly for the UAP is we have, or the chapter created, a fabrication of test booths. Okay, fabrication test booths, because it is very safe for us to do the swabbing, but of course we need to protect our healthcare workers. So they are doing it, the swabbing and all. The patient is outside that booth, and inside that booth is the health worker, wherein, as you can see here, there's just two holes there wherein they can put their hands out to swab or to test a person or infected patient. Okay, now this one is the invention of one of the Filipino as well, wherein he's based here, also here in Singapore. But he's not an architect, but he is also part of the built industry. He is engineer Sheldon Ruiz. This is powered by the Arid Builders and Company, wherein he invented these light fixtures with shielded UVGI, with a air purifying function as well. So the key benefit of this is the air disinfection, meaning to say, there's a fan here wherein it can sip the air, and then after that, whatever air that will pass through the UV light, it will kill the virus. So that's the function of this lighting. Yeah. So there's a filter, fan, UV light, chamber, and airflow. So that is how it functions. If you want to see more of that, they do have a website, and the name of that is the Luminaire, proudly invented by Filipino engineer. So engineer Sheldon Ruiz. He worked in 3M for 10 years, and then he also worked at NUS Engineering Research. Next. So moving on, right now, after showing you the works of the Filipino professionals and how they contribute in this kind of pandemic situation, now, of course, questions are arising. We are all traumatized of what is happening. Actually, not what happened, but what is happening right now. And we are thinking, what will gonna happen, or what will be the impact of this to our design? We are not saying that this is already the right solution, but we are here brainstorming and trying to think, to impart of what will be the solution, or what will be the impact of this to our design. What if, what if, what if? As architects, I want you to be bold on your suggestions. As architects, I want you to stand up rather than we will just simply wait for the answer or for the solution. Why don't you take part to think rather than waiting for the others to tell you the solution? I think that is better. So we are not saying that we're going to scrap, okay? We're going to scrap how we've been building architecture and cities for years. We are not saying that. But as the world moves faster and becomes more interconnected, that's the reason why we are having this kind of conversation right now. And how are we going to do it? Well, the thing there is, we need to embrace the new tool of options. It's like a toolkit. You need to make an improvement in our design where it is more flexible, should be more flexible, should be more holistic, and more responsive. Well, for me, that is the three big part of my design. If you were gonna ask me, if I will impart my design in this kind of situation, I will make it a point that my design is flexible, that my design is holistic, and my design is very responsive according to the situation that we're in right now. Okay, what is this one? Yes, I do believe that we are like in an earthquake. We do have the epicenter. What is the epicenter of change? How are we going to embrace it? Those are the questions that many of us asking. After this COVID, what will be the design of your home? After this COVID, what will happen to the public spaces, to the commercial? Well, for me, if I will answer that question, I can say that with the new awareness of personal safety concerns, we will be better. Our design will be more sensitive, human-centric, eco-centric design will be imparted. So in here, I will going to show you what we in core studies regarding the epicenter of change. So the design will increase and more focus on number one, health, wellness, and safety. Because people right now is on the spotlight of the impact of this COVID virus to human health and safety. It goes together, of course, with the natural environment. As we all know, the virus came from there, right? We found the virus in the wild animal, and it has been able to transmit to human. Likely because maybe of increase, or not maybe, but definitely the increase of human contact of with the wildlife. How has it happened? And it increases, of course, the risk of dangerous viruses because we don't know. To be honest with you, if you were going to look at in the lens of a planner, we really don't know where we're going to set ourselves. We don't know what is the limitation between human habitat and the animal habitat or the natural biodiversity. We are surpassing that line. And right now we are experiencing it. You will say, or you will just look at on the corner and say, I don't know what happened. But the truth is we're all guilty of what is happening. Then next is, we should be sensitive in our community. The level of engagement is vital to the building and the momentum of necessary to create the safe and sustainable future. Always remember that. Sustainability is not all about nature alone. Sustainability is not just green, not just blue, and not just all about energy. Sustainability embraces community and social aspects and culture of living. So that's the reason why we do have this community part as one of our epicenter of change. Lastly, of course, when we're doing our plans and designs, we need to think of the economy. We also need to have a change in the economic systems, how we move away from linear economy to a circular ones, right? From linear economy to circular. How are we going to do that? If you have heard about circular economy, that goes into that. How are we going to do that? That is one of the most effective way today if we are looking at the sustainability aspect or sustainable economy, linear to circular. Now, what is this one? We have here the 360 systems thinking. Actually, before this pandemic, we are using this system in core, wherein it's the center of resilient environmental experts. We are using this, but not 8. Yeah, but not 8. It's only 5. But because of this pandemic, we brainstorm, how are we going to incorporate more of this system in terms of design or systems thinking? Okay. First, the green. Because you know what, this time around, this is the very good time for us to reassess everything. Reassess our built world, as what we call it, not after the next catastrophe or another pandemic. This is the right time for us. The time is now, not tomorrow, not on the next day, but it's today. So the next is water. We have the sustenance or the food. You know what? Many of us today thinking, oh yeah, I do have a lot of plots, big plots, for example, in the Philippines or even there in Malaysia, or in Indonesia or any part of the world, right? Except here in Singapore, of course. you know that we are living in a building type. So you have a lot of plots there, right? You have a lot of space, but the question there is why you're not having food in your garden, why you are not producing edible gardens or edible plants. You can incorporate always, okay? There is no limit to that. There is no one will gonna say it's not good, it's not nice. You will always, and you can always do to incorporate an edible landscape to your flowering landscape or non-flowering ones. You can do that. Anything. Energy. Under energy, there's an overlapping there. Later, I will gonna show you. So it's not all about the solar panels alone when I say energy. Here we added the innovation. Actually, it's always there, and it's been time around that innovation is already there and part of our building, part of our development. But what is happening is it is not glued together in our design or in the architecture. So what we can do to make a proper design is you should marry the innovation to your design, or what we call to our aesthetic thing. It's because what is happening for several years, this is innovation, this is innovation, and this is architecture. They are very much far from each other. This is architecture, this is engineering. No, it should be married and glued together to create a better design, or to create a livable, I can say that, to create a livable future for this community. Next is public space. Why it is part of the design. Maybe right now you already have your own answer. Why do we need public space to be part of this systems thinking? Waste. I don't want to hear waste. I don't want to hear waste anymore. As what we are experiencing right now, we should not consider waste as waste. Okay? Because if we were going to look at the circular economy, there's no such thing as waste. And lastly, the material. Before, we are not looking at so much on what material are we going to use in our construction, or what material are we going to use for our, say, interiors. We are not looking at that so much. But right now, because of what happened, we are more keen on what are we going to use. What example, what are we going to use for tabletop? Do we need to have more flat surfaces there? Do we need to use stainless steel right now? So what are the number of hours that the germs or the viruses can stay on the stainless steel? How about in plastic? We're like that now. We are more keen on what materials are we going to use, because we are keen to our safety. We are afraid for what will gonna happen if you are gonna use this inside your house, inside your office, just like that. That is a simple way of describing you. How are we going to solve this, or what are the impacts of this according to this systems thinking? One by one, I will gonna show you. This is study wherein we made so that it is easier for you as well to locate, oh, this is what we're going to do, or this might happen for the grid. We're not telling you that, again, as a disclaimer, we're not telling you that this is the concrete solution, but of course, we are still on the process. Architecture is a process. We are still on the process of thinking and studying of what is the best thing to do for this time of pandemic or the post-pandemic. For the green, we can say that therapeutic garden is more essential, or is essential for the mental and emotional well-being. So incorporating pocket gardens, even a small area or courtyards, please do so, because you already understand the feeling of not going or going out somewhere, that you just stayed at home. For those of you who have your own plots, you're very lucky, because you can simply just go out, and then you have a lawn there. But how about here in Singapore? We are living in a apartment building. How do you think we're able to survive? Of course, as architects, we all need to be creative on how are we going to have a space for us to improve our mental and, of course, emotional well-being. So having a building that communicates to surrounding in terms of green and nature, that will be very, very, say, efficient in this post-pandemic, or even right now. You can already feel what is the difference of living in a sick building and in what we call the sustainable building. You can already feel that by yourself, and you can already see the difference of having plants beside you. Actually, right now I do have it as well. I really love plants, so I have it here every now and then. So what is the feeling of having this beside you rather than having nothing? Huh? Next, we are in a tropical country. Every now and then we do have rains, right? We are experiencing rain, storms. Why don't we use that one and harvest it? Why don't we impart the system of rainwater harvesting in our system? So if time happens that another touch wood, another pandemic, we don't need we don't need anyone, or say private sector, to give us a good water, or even 50% of the water usage at home. You can get that through your rainwater harvesting. Having quality and treated water as well. So those are the changes that we can see in terms of water. Not so much for the water, but make sure, of course, that um, just like the SARS, for example, touch wood, not the SARS again, but the SARS, we can get that from water, right? Because it's also a water droplet. Just like what happened, if I am not mistaken, in Hong Kong, that because of the SARS, they do have a public and mass cleaning of their pipelines, because you can easily get the SARS through the pipes. So that's one fear. So if you have your own water system at home, you will not just get you may not be contaminated by those water who came from the public. Sustenance, or the food product, or the food production rather, after this, or even right now, as you can see when you look at the social media, all of the people there, more than 40% of the people showing that they are planting. Am I right? Because now the people realizing the goodness or the effect of urban farming. It is not just the effect of not only the effect of you're having food on the table because of the urban farm, but the effect of the greens as well, going back to the mental and emotional well-being of the person. Yeah. So edible landscape, I already discussed that a while ago. And of course, as of what's happening right now, food resiliency, that's important. Like in the community garden, so make use of your community. And then the rooftop gardens, when food chains is uncertain, especially food supply, or the supply chain of our food today is very uncertain. Now, for the energy, okay, this is an overlapping. The energy is an overlapping of the mechanical system, or the air quality. Because a while ago, when we go back to the 360 system thinking, you may ask me, where's the air quality here? We put it under the energy. So in the energy, we filter. One of the most important system that we will going to use after this pandemic, or even right now in pandemic, is filtered ventilation. We are having that filtered ventilation most in the hospital, the healthcares. But how about in our office? How about in the public? How about in the public spaces? How about in like malls, cinemas? So we never know. Maybe they will already use the filtered ventilation system right after this. The humidity systems as well, the hybrid ventilation, the indoor quality, of course, that's part of it. And then the natural lighting system, because in here, in sustainability, we are not saying that being sustainable is using all the technologies. It's not. But being sustainable is going back to the old norm, that what we are doing. Okay, the buffer zones in the hospital to prevent the spreading of contaminated air. That's one thing that we have here in Singapore. We have it in the Singapore General Hospital. One of the block there, the emergency room there, but it will gonna open in 2023. But it's already ongoing that they do have the emergency buffer zone. It's a pressurized buffer zone that if it closed, the contaminated air cannot pass through to the other section of the emergency room. So that's the prevention of contaminated air. So that is under the energy. How about for the innovation? It's quite many for the innovation because as we all know, as I've told you as well, we need to marry innovation, or we need to marry the mechanical, electrical into our design process. So the touchless technology will come in because as we all know, 80%, okay, 80% of what is happening, or 80% of infectious disease can be transmitted by touching the contaminated surfaces. Again, 80%, okay, of infectious diseases that can able to transfer to you by touching the contaminated spaces. So right now, many people doing the research that we can able to insert now the hands-free future. So that is what you call the touchless technology, or hands. Some of them call it the hands-free pathways. The motion sensors. You don't need to touch anything to turn on the light. You don't need to touch the doorknob because the door will automatically open to you because of the motion sensor. Facial recognition. Most in some of the schools here already have facial recognition. One of is the Raffles College of Higher Education, wherein we are using a facial recognition for our students, and that will serve as their attendance. Okay, next is this one we're gonna use on the most probably for the public spaces, the automatic body temperature scanner, especially in the airport. Yeah, that is very useful for the airport, for the malls and offices as well, even for the offices. Telecommunicating is one of the plays one of the vital role plays the vital role here in pandemic. Everything goes over Zoom, just like what we are having right now, right? We are talking to hundreds of people around the world using this technology. So it is very useful, the telecommunicating. Right now, we discover that we can able to impart knowledge to people by sitting down, talking like this to you, and then many and hundreds and even thousands of people can hear the message that we want to tell them. So that is because of the telecommunicating. So the use of germicidal UVs. The one example of that is the lighting UVs, right? And then the telemedicine or the virtual care. I don't know if you already have it there in your country, but here in Singapore we already have that. One of the clinic here already practicing the virtual care because you will just need to talk to the doctor over the iPad, a sort of like that, and then he will tell you what do you need. So you don't need to go to the hospital or to the clinic, and then you will just simply talk to him, and then he will advise you. Of course, it's case to case basis. It's not always like that, but it's case to case basis. Next, for the public space, many of you are going to ask, why is it that public space is part of that? So the flexibility of spaces, we need to impart here, and we need to have a more pedestrian and bicycle lanes, adaptive reuse, which is one of the drivers right now that the architecture responding, the reduce of number of flat surfaces where germs can sit. That's what I'm telling you a while ago. A small venue for more open spaces to alleviate density. Because right now, as what we are practicing the social distancing, right? The big spaces are not useful anymore for a certain number of people. We are minimizing the density of people in a certain space. How about for the waste? The modular construction adoption is one of the best example for that, because this is less waste and even the lightweight architectural construction part. But in the waste, we want to ask people to recycle, to downcycle, and to upcycle. We need to master those. Or again, going back, that is the main key to have a zero waste. Main key to have a zero waste is knowing how to recycle, how to upcycle, and how to downcycle. And for the materials, what are we expecting for the materials that we will going to use? First is the antibacterial furnishing that will be included as part of the post-pandemic design. Prioritizing the use of locally sourced material. Why is it part of that? If your area producing a local material and there's a lockdown, for example, you don't need to travel anymore because you already have your own material in your locality. So that's the reason why we include that. The antimicrobial polymer surfaces, that is part of science. And then the copper alloy surfaces, that is one of the example in the WELL standard as well. So those are what we can see according to our research. What would be the changes in our design in terms of green, water, food, energy, innovation, public space, waste, and materials. And now, before we come to end, do you believe that this COVID, or could this COVID be a catalyst for positive change? What do you think? Knowing all the awareness that we brought to people right now, do you think this will be the catalyst for the long time change, the true change we are waiting for in this built environment industry? So for me, sustainability should be part of the norm. It should be holistic, not a choice. Thank you so much. And I hope I impart knowledge to you in this 1 hour of session.
Thank you, Joan. Wow, what an amazing sharing session with a brief overview and very interesting proposals to alleviate the effects of the pandemic. Indeed, I think we must have a more sustainable and natural friendly future. But before we go to the discussion, I would like to welcome the president of Acya, Architect Rita So, and I humbly invite Architect Rita to give a word to all the young architects participating in this web forum.
Hello. Am I on now? Hi, good afternoon. This is Rita So, President of Acya. At the moment, I don't see the participants. I think that you have got about 265 from all over Acya. Welcome to this, I think, first webinar under the able leadership of your chairman is Rita. Thank you, Joan. I enjoyed the very quick, I think it's not easy to deliver the very short time, all the aspects of, the design that you have to take care for pandemic. I think essentially like you, it's what you say, it is a holistic embracement of how we should be looking at the way design should be done. We have been trying to talk about climate change for the longest time ever, and it is still moving very slowly. All it takes is a small little virus, and immediately the world hit the reset button. Yeah, I mean, people have been saying 2020 is like a code for perfect vision. For once, we see ourselves very clearly for the survival of the planet and for survival of humanity. I think we need to rethink the way we design. We need to rethink the way we use our resources. I like what you talk about, the circular economy. I think it's very interesting. And as young architects, as our future generations of stakeholders of the built environment, I think it's very important for us now to look at it, not just because I've got to do a job, I've got to do a design. It's a holistic embracement of sustainability, even the idea of designing for all, the concern, the care for the earth, the care for water. I think Joan has alluded to many of these points that you probably would take the next few years to unravel and to learn. So I would not say too much. I think you've got a lot others to learn, and I'd just like to say hello to all, and thank you for inviting me, Rita. Thank you, and I hope you have a nice time today. And most of all, be safe, stay healthy, and take care.
Rita.
Thank you, Architect Rita So. I think we can move forward with the discussion. I think first of all, I would like to thank you for the presentation just now. I'm just thinking of what are the silver lining after the hardship of the facing a pandemic. As you mentioned previously, Corbusier's single zoning planning principles was derived out of a pandemic. I think Flank Lot Right has similar utopian proposal of further social distancing of broad acre city, which each family will have an acre and they can farm their own food and have that level of distancing. Where do you think planning innovation gonna come post COVID-19?
Yeah. Okay. For this post COVID-19, right? Looking at the living what we have before is not like what we have. The number of people that we have previously is not the number of people of what we have right now. So the an acre of plots, for example, will not be applicable for all of the countries around the world. So we do have different things. But for the urban planning, for the urban planning aspect, as we look at this post pandemic, is, as I can see, there will be there will be a big participation, number one, first, of the policymaker on how are we going to implement this holistic approach. So for the urban planning, I can say that the government should have or impose number of maximum of occupants per area as well. And then the use of, also the use of the adaptive reuse of the building. We don't need to have a we don't need to create new buildings, but instead we need to use it and make a tactical planning out of it. So I think that's the fast and easy way that we can implement for the urban planning, tactical plannings for the adaptive reuse building. And the government will impose a number of people and occupancy for maximum occupants for a certain space.
Great. Where do you see a space where young graduates today or young architects that venture out starting to practice to consider to be designed responsibly and have sustainable design and resilience, the form of practice of the future? Should it be still very traditional, very hard copy based, or the one that we are dealing with right now?
Yeah. As I've told you a while ago, architecture is a process. There is no right and there is no wrong design. Okay, that's my point of view there. There is no right and there is no wrong design. We should, as architects, we shouldn't put ourselves inside the box because we cannot perform well. But as long as we are following the standard, or we can do the right standard according to our what we call invention. Architecture is an invention. So I can say that for the young architects, do not be afraid to express themselves. Do not just be bold to what they believe in, but of course, don't you ever forget that you should know how things works. Okay, you shouldn't do these things and then suddenly you don't have this complexity to embrace. Okay, they should learn how to learn the complexity to embrace of what is really happening and know what are the things that works for them. And then of course, one of the things that I can say to them is, there is no hardship or there is no hard working, but instead, if you love what you do and then you know what are you aiming for, do it. Because for me, as a sustainable strategist or an advocate of sustainability, it is no longer acceptable to ignore what we're doing, or to ignore the impact of what we're doing to the environment. As an architect, there's a countless ways for us to evolve and to evolve in this profession. And through that, you can able to curve your own identity to what you truly desires as an architect. Or if you really desire to make an environmentally friendly design, please make this as a push for you and be an advocate. So being a young architect or young at heart architect, there is no timing at all. Just know where you stand and know what is your true desire to be more relevant in this planet.
All right. Uh, Water, air, and food is considered essential to a person's need. And of course, included in that is shelter. Is there a case where we can argue architecture is also one of the essential services to, continue operating during this outbreak?
Okay. As what I've said a while ago, it's about I set your mind before we begin, right? I tried to tell you that as of this moment, we really don't have vaccine yet. We don't have effective medicine yet. What are they using? Our built environment, where those built environment planned and built by the architects. So if you were going to ask me if we are still essential in this pandemic, I can say boldly, yes, we are.
Great. So we're gonna go through the question from the participants. Of course, there is more than 20 right now. So what we're gonna, answer them collectively, I think. One of them is they mentioned, of course, adaptive reuse is a sustainable strategy to prepare a quarantine center quickly. But how do we repurpose or reassign a program to the building afterwards, especially with a HVAC system that might be infected or might be penetrated by the virus? How do the venue bounce back and avoid any fear or negative stigma towards the building?
Okay. As I've said a while ago again, we in this situation right now, we still don't have concrete answer on how are we going to fight the virus, right? It's still it's still unknown. But what we're doing right now is the moment that we find that best solution or one of the best solution is the adaptive reuse. The only solution that we can say to avoid that is to the germicidal thingy. We need to disinfect, we need to clean. But in terms of the HVAC and all, we already have the system that we can already clean those things. But again, in this situation right now, we are still in the unknown. So that's why we are really spreading this awareness and asking people to help us to find ways on how are we going to resolve things.
All right. I think there's one from Haris Aziz and Fatima. I think they question about more or less the same thing. Do you anticipate any amendment in building laws or regulation to accommodate the new norm of social distancing, or at least if they don't amend the law, maybe provide a pandemic design guide?
Okay. Last week we just had our talk as well, together with the students and young professionals as well in the Philippines, and they asked the same question. So is there any amendment in the building law? I can say that yes, maybe there should be. Actually, we already have the standard laws for example, for the hospitals. In Singapore, yes, we have the standard rules for that, and also in other countries. But for the Philippines, yes, we have under the Department of Health, but we don't have a special clause for the pandemics. But right now, I do believe that the World Health Organization already provided for this pandemic, and then we can embrace that as well. And that is for the standardization of the hospitals. But how about for the example for the urban planning? Right now, we can already see the good things or the good points of having a walkable city, a cyclable area. So that is one of the solution for the social distancing. We may not able to go bump elbow to elbow in the transportation facilities because you're riding on your bicycle or you're just walking on the street. So maybe we can implement that to our building code, that to provide more pathways for the people to walk. So, and then more cyclable area, a proper spot for those kinds of things. And then what else? Just like what I've told you as well, the maximum occupancy load. So those are the things that I can see in terms of if there's any um, amendment for the building code for the to embrace the pandemic or the situation right now.
Okay. Maybe one last question, particularly talking about a space for sports, theater, cinema, and festival. Is there still a future in those recreational leisure activity? And do you think considering smaller venues will make it safer rather than making, rather than designing, a huge public space for a lot of people?
Yeah, okay. To answer that, to be honest, I am not in the right position to say that, but I will just answer it to the best that I can. It's according to my opinion, all right? I have read one research that right now we will be having or implementing the what we call that the telecommunicating commercial entertainment, telecommunicating entertainment. Example for the concerts, when you say. So the concerts will be limited right now because you know how people move when they are in the concert, right? Example, musical concert. So it's really more than elbow to elbow. So right now we will decrease, and then that's according to the research that what I read. And then for the sport facilities, I talked to one of the sports manager as well, and they are still trying to solve how are they going to. Of course, sports is very important for people, and that is part of our social life, socialization. And then if we were gonna reduce that, how are we going to do it? So right now, one of the solutions that they are looking at is by posting a lot of technologies or innovations inside. Example for the scanning, for the body temperature scanning, more shower areas, more washing areas, a sort of like that for the sport facilities. So those are the things that I have heard in terms of the sports and the
All right.
entertainment as well.
All right. Maybe in the future, all jersey or sports attire will be made of like virus proof suits. Maybe,
Yes,
I don't know.
yes, maybe because we are entering as well the fashion sustainability and germicidal materials for that. So yes, we can consider that. Or all the uniforms, just like what is happening right now here in Singapore. The nurses here in Singapore, after their duties in the hospital, they should remove all their uniforms and then they will just put it in the hospital, and the hospital will provide all the necessary, what do you call that, cleaning services for them. They don't have to bring it home. So there is
Sanitation.
yeah, the sanitations.
Okay.
Yes.
It's good to know that our frontliners are. Before we go on with our days, do fill up the exit poll that will pop up to your screen anytime now. So the exit poll help us to improve our session in the future. And we will end this seminar on the 21st of May with Fawad Suhail Abbasi on the next session. And see all of you again, and stay safe, everyone. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Stay relevant.